I mean, this is YouTube after all.
Couldn't find the dog. It ran away.
What dog? Lost a dog.
We've lost dancing. We've lost dancing.
Do you know that song? We've lost dancing. I remember back in San Francisco, we've lost
Dancing. This year we've had to lose.
What is the story of this necklace? I bought it for an event. No. Yes. Bought it for some cowboy western themed event. No idea where I got it from. Probably like a gas station in Texas.
Boys and girls, welcome to the Great Company. Great Company. Did you spritz your face?
Did I do what?
Did you spritz your face? Or are you just anxious? She's excited. Or she used a really nice face spritzer. Either way, you had to be there, people.
I have to say, there are too many layers of interaction within those couple words. However, no, I have not spritzed my face.
You look dewy. She's dewy. Are we filming?
No.
Okay. We're just recording.
Yeah.
This is for our Spotify listeners that turned the videocast off. Can't blame you. Great Company.
Hey cutie pies. Hey cute people. Hey cutie pies.
I will not be saying that. Not today, not tomorrow, not next week. I will not be saying that. Great Company.
Welcome.
Hi,
This is Chase.
this is Isla.
And we're a great team, it turns out.
Yeah, let's say centered on greatness.
And that's how we met. You were great. And we were great. And here we are.
Here we are.
So welcome. And this is, the correct name of this space is the Great Playground. And I guess this is what me and Chase are going to make out of it.
Are we still practicing?
We're always practicing.
But we haven't turned it on. This? Okay, that's crazy. No one told me we were recording. That changes nothing. Times together.
But
Playtimes.
Playtimes.
Great times.
It most certainly is.
13 minutes we've talked about nothing.
What else is there to do?
So let's choose a few bullet points to flow through and then get in a flow. We're going to talk about, I think we can do the intro again. We're going to talk about a glimpse into what this is, but not too much. We can talk about how we met. Actually, more interesting way to say that is how we got here. Whatever that means. And then we can talk about the day. And where it takes us. Okay.
I strongly support that. Actually, I wanted to... So why are we here? Shall I start? Maybe
You should
with,
start.
I think that I am part of the reason why we are here.
That's very true.
So here on Great Podcast, we'll be speaking only truth and nothing but the truth, as we do now. However, what I wanted to say is that I've been working across many different fields, on this planet, and some of them were medical, and some of them were cultural, and some of them were interesting, and very fascinating on many levels. And there is this moment in your life when you just kind of come and you're looking at it, and you just think, great, just great. And there's nothing more, nothing less to it, I think. And I find that very fascinating, the word great, and also the state of great.
When did that start? When did you become attached?
Actually, let me pitch in one thing before I go there. And that is the fact that I can't even, I mean, it's quite amazing that I'm living in a country that has convinced the entire world to call it great. And I think this is the essence of this podcast.
No, to clarify, the essence of this podcast is not British culture. As two non-Brits sitting in front of you, very happily.
It's great.
The essence is great.
You know who should take our portrait photos? Martin Parr. It's actually...
I trust you. That's my... I have no idea who you're talking about. I trust that recommendation.
Okay. But what I wanted to say is that in many ways it is somewhat I'm not sure if it's a love note. It is on many levels to Britain. Exactly, because there are many lessons that I have learned throughout this journey. And I think for many people that have known me, because a lot of people know me from my previous lives, and don't worry, links to that will be provided. So, but I want to say is that if there is one thing that I've truly started to appreciate here in London or in Britain in general, this is the mention of focus that comes with the emphasis on value and exchange. And I've grown up in a really bizarre circumstances, more or less. And I think this dimension of altruism connected to those circumstances has always been very deeply anchored in me. Also, it's much more common in the southern cultures, like this communal, identity through communal, not individuation. What I mean is how you are acting as yourself within the context of a group, but how you merge with a group, it becomes more bonds are closer, versus this individuality that I have learned to appreciate here in Western cultures. So how this dimension of value and exchange falls into that has been highlighted to me in a very, very different degree here in London. I think this dimension where Britain is somewhat of a finance, in a cross-section between finance and culture, is really fascinating to me. So this dimension, so in a way, the Great Playground is also connected to that.
And much, much more. To anyone hearing that we're a finance culture playground, it's probably could not be further than the truth. It's ironically the context and the backdrop that a lot of this exists in. Gotta have the context. But I wouldn't say it is the energy.
I think, this is actually quite funny because if the camera would be turned around, you would be faced with...
We have to arrange this at some point, because if the camera would be turned around, I can guarantee you right now you have no idea what you'd be looking at. And they're huge. There are two of them.
And they're white, and they look like finance bros.
Yeah.
So
Huge. What's up, guys? How we doing? Talking shit? Looks like it. That can be a story for another time, because that is also very much an experiment in cultural zeitgeist, which is a lot of what this is. Cultural zeitgeist. Let's
Most
say that word
certainly.
3 times fast. Zeitgeist.
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 Zeitgeist. Do you speak German? Zeitgeist.
No. Do you?
I actually
Really?
do. Ish. So I speak 5 languages. 3 of them I'm fluent in.
Mm.
2 of them are rusty. So German and Italian I'm rusty in. I understand
Yeah.
it. But when it comes to speaking, I would probably need like 6 months to brush it up.
Mm.
How many languages do I speak now?
Is this a math question?
Potentially.
She speaks a lot of languages. That's the point.
We actually met at a fashion party.
Yes, we did.
And
Not too long ago. That was, what, 2 months ago? Give or take? Yeah. In a basement in a club in London at a fashion party.
He was dressed in neutrals.
Yeah, some might say.
Wasn't it like stone?
It's brown. Like a golden
Oh yes, it was more earthy.
beige. Some cream. Actually, no, I had the Isamiyaki pants on, so there was some color in that. But it was like a cream base. And tabbies that were cream.
I remember the cream
Tan.
because when I think about that evening, I remember this is going to be this is actually true. This is 100% true. So I remember Chase's face and the light around him. Light around. But in this instance, it's stone colored, or like beige,
Yeah,
cream.
that would be my shirt.
Exactly.
Yeah, it was like I wish we could just pull up the shirt right here.
Mm.
Yeah, we met at a fashion party. It was a, what'd you call it?
It was a framed setting.
It was well framed, some might say. It was a collaboration party between Sotheby's and Frame for the collab line that they did. And I was there. I was by the DJ booth. Typically am. It's like the least awkward place to stand, in my opinion, next to a DJ booth.
Is that more on a like?
Well, yeah, it depends. No, actually, I would say generally I mean, it's the center of the room, even if it's not physically the center of the room. If there's a DJ, that's always like the center of the room in a sense. So yeah, I think I end up there.
Yeah, I'm curious about the feeling the spot gives you.
Yeah, I don't know. It's just gravitational. Anyways, that's where I was. And
Notice.
talking to, yeah, just chatting with some people that were there. You walked up. You very assertively walked up and said, you all look cool. How's it going? Or something like that. And I was instantly sold on that. I was like, yeah, that's a great intro and fantastic, yeah, initiative. Do you recall it differently?
I potentially do,
Oh, let's go there.
but it might have been a dream. A dream it was. Your face in the light.
Yeah, I mean
Saying
that basement can get a little fuzzy, I'd say, around what happens in that members club. Yeah, I think they designed it that way. I wish we could bring on the interior designers. How do you make spaces blurry
have
and
you
slightly dreamlike?
my version sounded slightly different.
I just know you walked up and you were like, hey, what's up? And you said something along the lines of, all of you have an energy or look great or just something,
But they did.
flattering. Well,
And
yeah,
you were with
we're
your
not denying it,
friend.
people.
Yeah, like they looked very good.
And of course,
Very,
someone
very
who
good.
says that also carries that energy. So we started talking, and then you and I ended up talking most of that night. There was like a weird fake auction happening. Anyways,
I didn't get this hoodie. I wanted the Sotheby's hoodie. Am I
yeah, well, it could be yours for 300 quid. Yeah, we circulated and then found ourselves on the fringes of the party and talked and hit it off. And now we're launching the Great Company. We're here at the Great Playground. We're in this great setup. It's pretty great.
We met, and I think like I'm in a space where I was kind of planning to do this, and I found our connection and our interaction enjoyable. That I thought this is like epitome of what great is. I think like we live in a very fascinating age right now. Like I don't think it's unprecedented.
Unprecedented. Why is it fascinating to you?
So let's start with our background. So I lived in Norway most of my life. Before that, I lived in Serbia. You come from Austin, Texas.
I come from Texas. That was actually a pretty bad Texas accent. I'll score myself really quickly on that one. I'm giving it 3.1 of 5 stars. I'll try again next episode. I grew up in Texas, yes.
So we'll have an episode where people will live rate your Texas accent.
Yeah, tune in live just for that. And then drop off. Go back to work. Go back to bed if you woke up on the other side of the world.
I mean...
Take your phone call off mute. Get back on the phone. I'm often told I don't sound like I'm from Texas. I'm not really sure what people mean by that, but I grew up in a city in Texas, so... Yeah, I didn't grow up on a ranch. Spent plenty of time on ranches. Anyways, here we are in London now. It's a great country. Interesting time to be saying that, but London's great. That's pretty agreeable. We're vibing.
I enjoyed that. And I mean, I really wanted to get into the mindset of people that, again, convinced the entire world to call them great. So that's kind of why we're here. And I think one of the most interesting aspects of you, Chase, is the fact that Austin is such an interesting cultural hotspot.
It's getting a lot of attention. And I think it's largely justified. I think anything that gets a lot of attention, especially online or, you know, in headlines and such, I think
there's the real life experience, which sometimes is much more chill than the socialized energy around it. So Austin's a great spot. Really enjoy it. Happy to be from there, proud to be from there. It's not the full answer, and I think there was this weird post-COVID time where some cities were like presented as the answer to the future, especially for people escaping urban hubs. Yeah, and I just don't think that exists in any one city. And Austin kind of took on a weird reputation for that in a lot of circles. And now it's stabilized and it's going back to just what it is best, which is just a like fun, energetic, small to mid-sized city in Texas with great opportunity and a history of some quirk. A little bit of
hippie, a little bit of cowboy, cowgirl. Yeah. And now like a beautiful skyline of glass buildings. Almost all of downtown Austin is glass buildings. I don't know if you know that.
Is it like a recent development?
No, it's just because it's all built in the last 20, 25 years for the most part. And so they've kind of taken on this blue glass aesthetic that I'd say for a skyline of a city it's nice. It's great.
Please send me a great...
Right, boys? You'll see the boys at some point. Guy is like the trust fund bankroll.
Second son.
He's the money. He is
business acumen.
working for the money and doing a great job. I think he's a great money manager.
Yeah, like he has business acumen.
Kind of a rainmaker.
brain. Oh,
And this
wow.
guy kind of just doesn't care, probably about anything. There's probably like a 25% baseline of indifference in everything he does.
So, and it's really, really funny because you have background in finance as well.
I yawn a lot. It's not a sign of anything except that I think I have a yawning condition. Apparently, it can be just like light sensitivity, blue-colored eyes. Comment if you know what I'm talking about. But yeah, it's not out of boredom or energy. It's just yawning. I do have a finance background. I come from the world of in finance and corporate America, and then corporate United Kingdom / Europe. I'm essentially, yeah, from the global corporate world. And that's all we need to say about that. But I have a whole other side of me that looks nothing like finance, I would say. I don't know.
I mean, so initially I was thinking about doing this project solo, and I met Chase, and I thought that he was absolutely brilliant, exactly because you exist within this dichotomy.
Yeah,
And
story of my life, paradox.
Exactly, but there is something about how your evolutionary vessel.
Ladies and gents, take notes. We're talking about my evolutionary vessel. Wow, that is a term. That is.
Oh my God! Have you never?
Can't wait for that little like part of the video timeline, you know, where you can click through the different like bullet points, and one just says evolutionary vessel.
Oh my God!
Well, since we're talking about my evolutionary vessel,
So,
God,
thinking
you're gonna
about
make
your
me blush on camera.
Oh, will that make me the first person to make you blush on camera?
If you're just
Speaking about
joining us,
cartoons.
welcome back.
Welcome back.
That would be because our camera stopped filming. The things we've talked about a lot in our hangouts, which have mainly consisted of this living room, which is a fantastic living room. Her living room, to be clear. And I'm just like the house rat at this point. Everything short of just kicking the door down, because you actually leave it open as soon as I enter the building. We spent a lot of time hanging out here.
You're a cozy evolutionary vessel that I enjoy very much. I would never call you a rat.
Evolutionary vessel, an EV.
He's a very cozy.
Charge me up.
But also, I wouldn't provoke him. Like, yes.
Yeah, that's a danger. Yeah. Anyways,
Yes.
we've hung out a lot in this room. We've done some good walks around London, some hot walks, walked around, just been hot in the process. We have been to music festival.
Yeah.
We've had business calls, meetings, talked about contracts. It's been a busy 2 months since we met at this fashion party. And one of the things we talk about rather consistently is like the classic East-West divide. That honestly exists in most cities. It exists in like the Great Gatsby even. But there's always a story around the East and the West. A lot of that ties to how cities were developed with industrialism and weather patterns and socioeconomic behaviors. But
In a western town, a dead-end world, with the East End boys and West End girls. West End girls. West End girls.
Because do you know that I have a scar on I have a scar on my forehead, on the middle of my forehead.
no, I didn't know that.
It's there. You can verify. But
We'll-
it's
We'll
really
do that later.
keep the camera.
Verified.
Please do. But that's exactly what we're speaking about. I think like right now you asked what is really interesting of what is happening in the world, and I think it's absolutely the shift that we are about to face is tremendous. And it is due to the connectivity that is aroused through means of digital interaction, the scope of it, the size of it, how narratives have been approximated. And then we had the entire green wave, the woke wave, the call for transparency. Like all of those things have shaped generations of young people in a way, in a drastically different way than, for example, like there is an age gap between us, but it's not that tremendous. To understand what the amount of information that your generations have consumed through internet versus our, and I'll just say like approximately I start seeing changes around, so like when you're 90, when you're born in 1990, 1992, like those generations, you kind of start seeing like quite clear differences in how everything is processed. And all of those things, like for those who do not know this, I used to be a dentist and I wrote my thesis.
Life number one that you've lived. We need like a counter, because I think over the course of time you're gonna reveal a lot of lives. You're like a cat in more ways than one.
Do you know that I have a cat too?
What?
Didn't you know?
Oh, I thought you said a cat too. I was like, no, you do not. Stop. Oh, stop.
There's not many things that would maybe there is. This actually made me blush. But I think that's kind of the beauty of it, and just us meeting in the context that we have met at.
Yeah, it's all about the context. Kamala taught us that.
Please. Oh, 100%.
100%.
Started telling you about my life as a dentist. So my master thesis was in socioeconomic disparities based upon information consumption and apprehension of provided information. So my master thesis, so like this entire dimension of cultural movement and how we flow between states and how those states have geographical boundaries. They have these groupings, like either as a country or the type of food you eat or how you dress, how you speak it. That's really fascinating to me, going back to the EV state.
And yeah, disclaimers that people have to sign.
Yeah, 100%. So like all of those things are really fascinating to me, and speaking about it and see how that kind of pans out.
I was literally just about to go there.
Tell me.
I was going to say, you've talked about... Sorry, can you take me seriously with these? Vintage Chanel out of Isla's extensive wardrobe. I mean, experience back there. Yeah. Well organized, might I say. Librarians. This woman is a modern librarian. I feel like at the end of your fingertips on a keyboard and a premium YouTube account, you can take people through the craziest journey in 60 minutes. And that's part of why we're sitting here.
That is actually one of the first experiences you and me have had.
Every time I've walked in this house, they have this great TV set up with a dining table beneath it, because that's not the priority right now. But it's a beautiful dining table. That was a birthday gift to her, not from me. But
that's the benchmark.
We'll come back to that. YouTube's always playing. Typically, it's a great DJ set or some amazing selection of music videos. And that really has become a portal for a lot of the playgrounds. A lot of discussion, a lot of ideas. Some things that get rather philosophical or on the more like intellectual side. Some things that result on us standing opposite on two white couches and dancing. You're always wearing Crocs as you stand on the couch dancing. And that is thanks to your wealth of inventory, I guess, of the digital realm. Give me a mic and I will go forever.
You have the floor is yours, sir.
I have the plug-in mic. Okay, but I'm going to actually keep going on this topic, because I think, and this like, wow, we're actually starting to weave a web in our conversation that might actually be interesting and cohesive for people to listen to.
Welcome.
What a crazy feat for episode 1. And how you've shown me corners of the web, especially through YouTube. We're talking lectures, we're talking music videos, we're talking super random, just videos, like generic videos. We watched a guy talk about the different types of bananas for like 25 minutes. Turns out it was like a legitimate video because he's a fruit specialist. Plantologist.
We are at complete liberty to make up terms that potentially do not exist in the dictionary, but will do so.
Well, at the time this video does not exist in the dictionary. At the time you're watching, it probably does. But yeah, you've like talked about sort of this lens within that you feel like you have, and that you would love to bring people into. And I found it really interesting because I like watched some music videos growing up. Was on like YouTube and YouTube adjacents, I guess a little bit, but I don't have that same exposure. And I do find it like a interesting way to talk about culture and to talk about ideas, to talk about expression, to talk about art. And I enjoy discussing and commentating on that kind of stuff, but this is sort of a new medium and probably a different genre of it than I've ever approached. And you're the perfect person, I think, to tee that up to people who maybe are familiar and would find it interesting, but perhaps more exciting would be people who have never gone to those places.
But I think...
and might find it more relevant than they would expect, which is how I felt.
Did you?
Yeah. I mean, I've like... 2 Saturday mornings ago, I watched a cartoon movie that you had sent me when I watched Gondivar. It was amazing, and it was highly relevant, and that's new for me.
And there's some interesting moments happening there.
Yeah, I don't know the right way to say it, but Boobs had a great moment, and it's not in the way that you probably expect based on how that sounds. All the different ways boobs could be presented in a cartoon.
Most certainly, but to be honest, I think also it's kind of beautiful because it's beautifully presented, and thus you find it attractive. It doesn't have to be... there are many levels of how things can be presented, and I think that's one of the things that I'm here. So this is another life that we're speaking about now, but when I used to work in fashion...
Life number 2.
I used to... I'm very focused on visual aesthetics, and it's not solely aesthetics. It's not about what looks pretty or what looks beautiful. But to me, this visual dimension exists within its own continuation, where, going back to the evolution that I'm highly and tightly tied, and also kind of wrote a manuscript based upon the evolutionary premises. Interesting to me to look how that develops and how that becomes hypes, how that becomes how that plays and interacts with human sentiment, and then how that kind of again turns into value and exchange. So, and that can also be connected to the fact that I can't see clearly. For example,
I was going to ask about that.
It's very fascinating. Plus 3.5 is no joke. My childhood photos, most of them I have look like a pirate.
Did you wear a patch?
Yes, I did.
I had a sibling that wore a patch, and I mean, as the non-patch wearing person, it was awesome because it was so cute. When they were younger, it was so cute. I don't know if they would say they felt cute wearing it, but for third parties, patches are such a vibe. It did wonders for their eyes.
But this is one of the reasons why Chase is here. There are many reactions that I've heard throughout the years on this particular narrative. The way you interact with things that I've seen, just actually a really well caught camera moment. I think that world would have been a really interesting place in a really cool way, because at one point not only did I have a patch, I also had a short hair. So it was brutal.
To be fair, hair is a different. It's a different category. Like, yeah, we could quote Fleabag all day long. Hair is everything, and we wish it wasn't, but it is, and it's. I mean, God, couldn't be more true. I think. Wait, but can you click on it a little bit more? Am I going to be annoying by saying click on? I mean, this is like a digital focused discussion realm. Click, 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 click. Tell us more about your vision, like the physical experience and some of the things that you might want to share on that. And again, tying it to this broader idea of aesthetics, aesthetic concepts. God, it's like how far do we want to extrapolate this? How that kind of ties into just the general idea of how you view the world, and having watching Wednesday, that might translate. A topic for another time. Yeah. But take us from your eyes all the way to your entire approach on living in 90 seconds or less. Just kidding.
Great. Enthusiasm. Oh.
You guys
Do
want to
it.
come to the print shop? Do you have a printer?
I do have a printer
Okay.
just underneath the marble table.
Hot take. I really want to get a printer. And I feel like printers are going to make a major comeback.
100%.
My personal opinion.
Do you
I've
know
not
what's
had a
really
printer in my house for a long time. I lived with someone last year. They had a printer.
What's the track?
Ended up wanting to print everything. And you know what? The world is going to keep spinning. I'm focused on my footprint in a lot of areas. Seeing maybe a bit of a mood board at home is not one that I want to cut back. So
Can you?
printers are on the buy list, people. Buy. You want to buy printers. Buy printer stocks. Stocks only go up. That's not financial advice.
I can't wait for the weekend to begin. I'm working all week.
I can be enthusiastic about printers, but there's actually a different story to that. I'll tell you afterwards. So fun. Did you know I used to? So there, I used to live in just above London Fields, Lido. I had a room. It was 12 square meters, where I printed a lot of references. What I wanted to say is that I printed everything like this big images, and then I cut them all up, and then I plastered the entire room with
Oh, that's
images.
cool. That's a wallpaper, essentially.
Exactly, but it wasn't random, and they weren't just like randomly plastered. It was like the entire thing was mapped out.
You organized it.
Exactly, but
What was your, Miss Librarian, what was your organizational logic? You seen Party Girl?
no, what's that?
Oh, a cult classic, iconic movie. Set in New York, 90s? Late 90s? Mid 90s? Anyways, this party girl, decides she wants to become a librarian. And there's this whole scene, which we hopefully can surround ourselves in this green screen, where she has to learn the different ways that you could organize a library. Which actually I understand how that's an entire degree, because wow, that's a world. But organizational logic's a fascinating thing. It's a massive accomplishment itself. So how did you organize a wallpaper of tiny photos in your entire room?
Well, let's go to like its organizational dimension is really fascinating to me as well. Exactly because of the way we store memory and how that kind of develops into individual aspects. I
It's
mean,
like a physical brain almost.
Almost.
Do you think that the way you organized that, okay, if we have a photo of that room, that would be super cool. Do you think the way that you organized those photos like mimics your brain? Like, do you think it's pretty congruent? I guess in some sense.
Aspects of it. I mean, but that's exactly the thing. Like, the question is what you're after, and I think that those are the things that I recognize through my artistic practice. So like I currently stand, like if I would to be asked what I am, I'm an evolutionary theorist and an artist.
Can you break those down?
Exactly. And exactly.
No.
Like yeah, and eventually at some point, most
This or
certainly
that.
might be off topic, but it
In
doesn't
America,
matter.
we answer everything. Did you know there's not a single unanswered question in the States? We know everything. It's crazy.
Do you have a
Crazy.
transcript of that? Have
It's
you?
not
Can you
arrogance at all.
verify that?
It's not arrogance at all. Well, yeah, I'll ask our verifier.
Please.
We have a fact checker over there.
And this will be posted on a great website where you can purchase it as
We-
tokens.
Which we've got to work on. Also need to work on pretty much everything except this first episode, because that part is happening.
Kind of going very well, and I really enjoy it. But this is like how things have like brought us together. All of these dimensions where I kind of it's not. I don't solely collect digital material or visual material. Like for me, entire world has been very specific. I don't see well, so I have not been able to see well from the onset. So a lot of my reliance is connected to hearing, and that's where things get really interesting and really loopy. But I think that dimension of existing in this like space that is very discrepant from normal has put me in a state where I understand that this world flows in a very peculiar ways, and I find it really, really beautiful to observe that and to document that and to see how things develop, and kind of find all of these like places where you kind of see how evolution is going somewhere in a constructive way. And Chase's evolutionary vessel is a very great example of that.
I can't get over
Part-
this evolutionary vessel too.
I know,
Yeah.
it's great.
Sounds like that's going to be on a shirt one day.
Where
I
we
already have one. I hate to break it to you. Don't take it personally. I've had an Amazon account, I think, for 17 years.
Prime.
Prime for probably 15 years. Actually, that's not true. It was on my parents' Prime. We're not sponsored yet. Check back soon. Okay,
No.
so like you were talking, yeah, you're getting at this idea.
So just like even how you're wearing your necktie with the socks that I know you have in inverse as well.
I do. These are the socks.
And like how you layer things is for me just culturally interesting, and all of those small trinkets that you have around you are also mementos of a journey, of a narrative. So for me, there's just like history embedded in things, and I get really geeky about it. So
And that's where I feel like that's the plane that we try to land in most conversations, is getting back to origins of like a perspective. Why your physical vision has led you to a place in life of how you spend your time, and now being an artist, and the way that you speak, and the way that you interact with people, that maybe all kind of ties back or started in some sense with a little girl who wore a patch. And like, you know,
Oh my God. But that's so funny because like that's such a
and we
American.
kind of do that with like everything.
Oh, do you know if somebody would filmatize my life, I would go for Yorgos. I'm not going to massacre his name, so please, I will put into the transcript notes.
Okay.
But Jim Jarmusch would be another fun one. Actually, if those two collaborated, I would be very happy. But that being said, I think just the world right now is great, exactly because of the emergence of digital culture. But at the same time, like America is very fascinating to me. And I remember, I'm not sure if you remember, in one of the conversations we have had, I mentioned the movie when he's a cartoonist that ends
That
up
was
in
2
a
days ago on the
drunken.
phone. I think.
No, this was maybe it was before.
And I said wow, and you brought up Owen Wilson immediately.
Yes, but the movie I told you about, I think it was. I'm not sure.
Wow.
Wow, but we did speak about Owen Wilson. Wow, like
We
the way he says
we
it.
love
wow,
Owen
that-
Wilson. We put him at the top of the list for artistic.
That I would pay to watch that. But what I want to say is that there was this dimension of him going through therapy
Mm.
and dealing with consequences of what has happened. And I think it was really beautiful to me to see how incorporation of therapists on a national scale, which I feel has happened in US,
Yeah.
has completely changed how young people interact both with language but also with each other. Like more space to understanding that there is flexibility within the interactions, and that I found like and to me you portray a lot of those traits.
Sorry.
That's all right.
Yawn count 6.
Yes, we'll have that in the corner.
Yeah.
But like, and how this space where you navigate these awkward moments
Mm.
can also develop into its own art form in a way, which it essentially is.
Okay, this could open a massive door. Yeah, I feel like, gosh, it could just constantly be like blowing the lid off of like 100 topics at once. Multiple things. The first thing I think you touched on, or what I should say, what I was hearing was that there's a lot of change and transition right now in the world. But say in kind of the post-industrial period, like the rate of change is just remarkable, of pace, even if it's like more meta than that, than prior periods of history. And so we have this like we have a higher repetition of experiences with change, or a higher frequency. So people have to navigate that. That's hard. And as things move faster, yeah, I don't know what you're getting at. Is like this idea of the journey. There's a lot more journeying. Because I think there's a lot more dimension to how many choices you might have in any given decision, or where you might live. And of course, there's so many layers of privilege that's built off of. But compared to 60 years ago, compared to 600 years ago, the opportunities are vast. Kind of opens the door to just like philosophy around modernity, and now like hyper modernity, with like the central things that have kept society intact are not there in the same way. You know, the whole like career retirement thing is kind of not working in the same way. World peace is not working in the same way. We stand for world peace.
We do.
Make sure to
we
update your
really
dating
do.
profiles. You don't want to leave that out until we're not making fun of actual world peace. We're making fun of the dialogue around world peace.
Far from it.
It's like people who say they like to eat on their profile. I'm like, well, shoot, if I have to list all the things I like to do to survive by existing in a peaceful environment and having food and drink every day, this profile is going to be really long before I even get to anything personal.
Do you know that my name translated actually means peace?
Really?
Yeah.
Did
No
not know
jokes from Greek. And
that. Did you know that there's a great reference to your patch days in the name you go by of Isla?
I did not, but thank you for
Have
highlighting that.
Have you ever thought about how your name carries so much of your story with eyes? I'm just thinking about this live on camera on live TV right now.
We love you. Look really great when you're thinking. Like your aura changes completely. Please continue thinking.
Okay.
I'm here.
No, in thought. Your name carries a lot of your story. Did you choose that on purpose? And to be perfectly clear, what I'm tying is like she goes by Isla, eyes and vision, physically, but artistically, huge part of who she is.
But you know what is really funny for me? It's like
Bridge.
it's kind of like halfway through I love, and that's kind
Wow.
of the other part. Like one of the reasons why I do connect.
Is for the way you look at me. So we both have ADHD. I think that's how we should open the show. That's the opening line of the entire podcast. Heart behind the great company.
Exactly. And I think like how we apprehend information and how things are wrapped around has its own currents. And I want to redirect the currents that have educated me and educated the society, like the what we can call the cultural bubble that people feed off, or like not feed off, but
Zeitgeist.
yes, the shaped zeitgeist as well. But I think it's kind of beautiful to talk people through the references, but also kind of how changed why, because I think this dimension of precision and pressure is something that has this kind of it has a strong impact on the old world, while I feel the Western world and what came out of US is the dimension of really like, I mean, Pharrell's song Happy isn't a coincidental one. And that's an evolutionary statement, by the way, and cultural one.
Just your local evolutionary vessel. We're going to circle around this for yet another lap, because every time it kind of adds a new layer. I hope that most of what we do here is like a vinyasa flow style approach to things, where you take a lap, you do a flow, you flow through your vinyasa, and then you start it again. Right. Smashing. There's going to be an episode where we just do it in English accents. But where was I going with this?
Layers,
yes,
loops.
okay. How this came to be. Good chemistry between us, found each other's perspectives interesting. I think found the way that we even approach perspective and what perspective is has been interesting. It's created a lot of very alive conversation and dialogue. And one of the things I remember you said early on was like, you enjoyed our conversations, and part of that was you enjoyed hearing the way I speak about things. And then you talked about in your years of living in the UK and like the value of speech, the value of language, the value of conversation structure. As we talked about the Great Company.
Collaborator.
At that point, I still don't know if I knew what it was. All I knew was that if the Great Company exists, I want to be on the board, because that is a perfect epitaph to put on a tombstone. Epitaph? I think that's the right word. And my
Can-
application is still pending to be a board member, though in the process I've been selected as a collaborator. And that might sound ridiculously abstract or vague, and I think that is correct, because it is a very wide range and it's not tied to any one thing, but you have these strands that you're like a yarn that you're trying to weave out of like education and culture, cross-cultural experiences, being expats, you know, living in multiple countries through your many different lives that you've already lived. And I think through that, this idea of perspective, and perspective having the potential to make things great. And literally already have like a few shares in that based on how often I say, no, it's great, it's great, it's great. And that's the Great Company.
100%.
And
Do you remember what you said about how we touched upon Elon Musk?
he's boring, technically, because he has the boring company.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I'm like, that's cool. That's absolutely fine.
He
like,
does understand.
You can do boring. You can do good, but we're great.
He does understand energy around selecting names and the importance of naming. Yeah.
That is an understatement.
But like the general aspect of perspective, dialogue, exploration, chemistry, energy, like those are essentially what the Great Company consists of. And what
100.
we're sitting here in a 3-walled, green screened room exploring. And if that doesn't make sense, I'm not sure it will ever make sense beyond words. Good things that don't make sense in words but make sense beyond words, I feel like that's often a good sign. Embodiment.
The longer the longer it goes, the greater it gets. After I wrote the book, I ended up just kind of as one does.
Let's hold on. We're gonna cut and put a pause after that. Because I don't even know what half those words mean.
I was 35 when I finished that book. Can you imagine that?
Wow.
Like it just
I need
kind
to
of
see this book.
randomly.
I feel like
Yes.
that should be part
Actually,
of my
me
contract.
and Chris are going to make like a small series, podcast series. He doesn't like to be filmed, but he likes to speak about it on that book because it kind of traces the evolutionary development of, the consciousness itself. And the name of the book is The Yellow Ball and the Sorting Hat, which is really funny because this great man, high five,
Yawned on my hand.
got me.
Yeah.
This is your yawn hand.
Yawn air.
Yawn air. Okay, I'm sending you
Sounds like your own
ADHD
air.
air. But you
Oh,
brought
don't
me
worry,
a
I already
yellow
have
tennis
it.
ball.
My psychiatrist confirmed this week I have ADHD. Officially diagnosed on Wednesday.
But you do
Verified.
verified because
Verified by an excellent London psychiatrist.
But going back to the Great Company and the entire evolutionary vessel setting, I was just kind of looking at it, and my entire life, I have been like this is a bit of a bizarre one, but I've like my parents really wanted to create this like almost like American prototype of a perfect daughter. So I dance ballet, I ski, I snowboard, I speak 5 languages.
What instruments do you play? That has to be in the mix, right?
I don't play actually instruments. I'm not good at that.
They're trying to raise the
I
perfect
did-
stereotypical daughter, and they don't have you on the violin or something.
I
Piano?
know. But no, actually, there is no music happening. I used to play drums, but I'm not.
Nice.
I'm not continued that path because there wasn't space for me. But also, I cliff dive. Just
You're
random.
gonna say that live on TV?
Oh. I'm sorry if that made you blush. But I do trust our audience. Discretion advised. There's an audience, there are 2 of them. They're trying
Well,
to
that's
record our
true.
conversation.
Hello, boys.
I loved it. You know what is really funny with the entire Hello Boys thing? That I'm a feminist artist and most of my ura is like,
Yeah.
and I'm like,
Can't wait for the people to see these pieces of art that we keep referencing.
yeah.
But you said you weren't gonna share them, were you? So maybe it's like you gotta come see it in real life. You know?
Yeah, maybe we'll hold a great party. But what I wanted to say is about, going back to great, is that it says great or your left side just about where the heart is experience. But ultimately what is right? How can we through kind of spreading great information contribute to the great change that this world is facing and just make more space for vibe interaction sense, but that also requires a specific type of people throughout the episode.
I mean, it's a lot. I did tell her earlier, on Saturdays I receive compliments all day long. Weekdays I've got to, the way I'm gonna come across as such an ego in these videos.
Which he is, but it's fine.
Yeah,
like,
it's great actually.
Oh, I forgot what I was saying. But
You were saying great
was
things, but I think you were getting toward this idea of connection too, and like is all in the direction too of good connection, and like That's straight out of the Connections book. I sent you that. Did you read
100%.
it? Anyways. Great Company.
I saw an article, I can't remember who has written it, how vibes are becoming their own currency. I mean, vibes have always been their own currency, but I think now things are changing towards something that has not had space to grow without its technological
Yeah, and
backbone.
obviously media is so massive to that. But also I think not just in some of the topics or realms that we'll gravitate toward through this experiment, project, journey, whatever you're going to call it. I think a lot of it's also too the flexibility and fluidity to jump between all of them, which literally is sponsored by ADHD. Thank you very much.
I was just about to say.
Because what I think is some form of luxury and power and joy is to say it's really important to discuss these hypermodern times and what's hard living in a world that is going through massive digital shift, and connection is changing, and social fabric is changing, and the way people move and connect to urban landscapes and physical place, change. And with that, sometimes friction and clash and feeling lost or confused or lacking connection. And I think it's cool that we can explore that on an educational level, on a philosophical level, whatever sort of intellectual inroad to those things, and within the same 5 minutes reference how that is exactly encapsulated by a 90s techno music video.
Oh, not another word, just la 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 la. It goes around the world, just la 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 la. It's all around the world.
That is also the backbone of a certain niche clubbing culture found in some city far away. That is the whole point.
Did I tell you the first time I went to a certain club, I cried?
Yes, you have.
I did cry.
You can put your guesses in the comments what club this might be.
Yeah, but it's really interesting. So why is all of this important? Because, and ultimately, I think that's really interesting to me. This dimension of that we as humans have this capacity to resonate qualitatively in a sense. Our vibes are reaching out beyond words and even beyond the corporeal movement, so beyond the body that moves. You can sense somebody's mood. You can, for example, say that a cafe has great vibes, great cafe.
Yeah. And it's what does that
That
mean?
mean?
Is such a complex question. And also I think that the complexity of it today is very different than probably 50 years ago, because the world feels in some ways more complex.
I think one-dimensional man, Marcuse.
One-dimensional men?
Man, yeah, one-dimensional or two-dimensional man.
I thought you were just talking down on a group of men.
Well, the book is essentially talking
You know who
down
you
on
are.
a group of men, but more of as a species, not as a gender. Dimensions of liberty we allow ourselves. How do they interact in our personal relationships? How do they interact on every single level? It's really fascinating for me, and it's fascinating for me exactly because I've had this very interesting and very fun life that has kind of taken me through a lot of dimensions of this existence. And when I look at the world, I just look at it as something that branches out, and the way it branches is really fascinating. And by knowing that if we highlight amazing dimensions, that we can kind of push the world towards greater places. And I want to be a part of that, and I want to interact with that, and I want to create space for young people to understand there's many, many levels to interactions. One of the things that I sent you the first time, neuroaesthetics, Gandhar, then we had 90s techno music. but you kind of see all of these things in a
Yeah,
very
there's
different.
also
It was
a
like
little cartoon, I think.
a couple of days ago I sent you The Point as well, which
Yeah,
Marina Abramovich also references in her work to a great extent. But do you
Yeah.
know, actually I watched that first time when I was on a flight from New York during New York Fashion Week. It was after Calvin Klein show, and they watching that on my way back, which is really beautiful. And you kind of understand that a lot of these conversations have been happening for a very long time, and the places where they have been happening are much more they're much more stress resistant in the context that when you do your journeying in your circles, you come back to it. It's not about the game; it's about how we navigate and how that accumulative
Very meta.
effect,
Yes.
right, has impact on how generally interactions exist and how people read the room. And how that again impacts X, Y, and Z. And that's really beautiful to me. And that's why one of the reasons why I find speaking about it with the right people really valuable. Exactly because, for example, if you're on a rave and you want this specific music experience and you're in a very open state, how people interact and exchange becomes a very sensitive matter. And yet we're as sensitive as we are savage in all of these different states. And what makes it really beautiful for me, like one of the most important lessons that I've learned from rave culture, is exactly how these interactions happen across levels. And if like there will be a lot of points that would have been helpful to me as I was kind of navigating this creative existence and scene, and what it means to people that have been exposed to big cities longer than people that have.
A lot of it does have to do with the big city, doesn't it?
It does.
Which, by that, really, a dense concentration of lots of people. You know, maybe like a little bit of the architectural influence as well, but by big cities, it's just like an intense number of people is why this happens. Like why that's the ecosystem from which everything you're talking about comes. I think what you brought up the word creation and the greatness, and you don't have to always swim through every layer, but just realizing that they're there and like engaging with them when you're able or when they make sense, whether it be within like a single interaction, and like what communicating someone is not just words, but it's, you know, take that example of like it's body language, it's fashion, it's room, it's ambiance, it's energy, it's like subconscious, it's conscious, it's all the things that aren't said, it's all the things that are said. And I think when our brains spend more time like giving credence to each of those layers, you realize there's so much more interesting stuff in the world. You become wealthier by increasing your perspective in that way. And then B, I think it's very grounding as well, and like it helps you experience presence more.
Sometimes you sound like a poster boy.
I know,
for the institutions that you come from.
We also need like a buzzer that is like, we sound sappy.
Like it doesn't, you know, like
I almost was sued once.
Oh,
yeah. University days.
What did you do?
Was involved with a certain organization, and one of the parents of the guys involved threatened to sue me. I was the president, and they just were throwing around stupid accusations, and anyways, didn't get sued, but I was like, fine, serve me on campus, like serve me papers in the middle of the most dramatic scene possible on campus. It's camera action.
Oh,
bring it on.
Do you know when somebody says live camera action, it always reminds me of the song Hardcore. You're hardcore. I'm not going to.
Now we're gonna sing hardcore.
When I remember what the next line of the song was, I was like, I'm going to stop now. But light camera action.
This is a better look at what the Great Company really is going to be like. Are we recording this?
Yes, we are.
We're always recording. You might be able to hear the music. You might be able to hear it better now. But if you can't, you know it's there, and that's what counts. Oh. Kind of an underwhelming bass drop. Thanks for watching. This is the Great Company. She's Isla. Hello. Your evolutionary vessel.
I waved. I'm sorry.
No, he's Chase. Thank you, Isla.
Oh, that's Chase.
We'll see you next time.